For more on the outcome, Morris Fiorina joins you now. Morris is a professor of political science at Stanford University, and he'll be in Australia next week as a guest of the University of Sydney's US Studies Centre. He joins us now from Stanford. Morris Fiorina, good morning. Good to talk to you.
Good morning, Virginia.
First of all, are you any relation to the failed GOP California Senate candidate, Carly Fiorina?
She says that her husband and I must be cousins at some place back there, but we don't really know. I've never had a chance to talk to him.
Okay. Well, at least we can establish some independence there. Look, how would you characterise this win by the Republicans?
Well, it's an extremely impressive win. This is the largest swing in seats in the United States since 1938. And political scientists have statistical models that predict elections on the basis of the economy, and this is about 50% worse than you could have expected on the basis of economic conditions alone.
What are the key wins and key losses that you would like to point out this morning?
Well, the key wins are simply the number of people changed in the House, which have certainly changed the majority status. In the Senate, there are some impressive wins, some impressive losses. I think the fact that the two most extreme Tea Party candidates, O'Donnell in Delaware and Angle in Nevada, didn't win, I think is something impressive to put out. On the other hand, a longtime incumbent, Feingold in Wisconsin, was put out by a Tea Party candidate. In the House, I think the important things to note are that many of the people carried in by Obama in 2006 and 2008 Obama were wiped out. In 2006, the Democratic resurgence, half of them were wiped out, as well as some very long-serving incumbents. People had been in office for 20 or 30 years. So it was pretty much an across-the-board reaction against the Democrats.
Morris Fiorina, the mantra of the Republicans has been repeal, 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 undo what Barack Obama has done, prevent Barack Obama from doing any more. Will they be able to do that, or are we now just looking at 2 years of legislative gridlock?
I think if they attempt to do that, they won't be able to, for the simple reason they don't have the votes in the Senate, and obviously Obama can veto anything. The question is whether they will really try, whether they'll try to make a point, or whether they will in fact try to meet Obama if Obama tries to meet them.
And do you think there's a potential meeting of minds there?
I wouldn't put a lot of money on it, but there's a possibility that the oppositional strategy the Republicans have followed is more dangerous when they are in the majority in the House. They do share responsibility now, and they haven't in the last 2 years.
That's true. I mean, it's always dangerous to become known as simply the party of no, and it doesn't seem that negative connotation actually has caught hold and attached itself to the Republican Party during this last period. But you see that as a risk for them now?
I think now that they are so publicized and so publicized a member of the government, yes. And I think a lot, too, depends just on Obama. Does Obama, in fact, attempt to govern more in the way he ran 2 years ago, or does he dig in his heels? So I think we have basically two uncertainties out there, how Obama reacts and how the Republicans in the House react.
Could the Republicans actually have a mediating effect on Barack Obama for the better?
That's certainly possible. There are historical precedents for all sorts of things. Clearly that was the case with Bill Clinton. Now Bill Clinton had, of course, been a much more centrist politician when he won election. Whether Obama would move in that direction or not, or in fact try to shore up his base and try to blame the Republicans, we'll just have to see how that plays out.
What do you think the Republican Party did right during this campaign, to these elections? And did they do it alone, or is this in part a victory for the Tea Party movement, notwithstanding some high-profile Tea Party members not getting up?
What the Republicans did right was not to be in control. Frankly, all the polls still show that, if anything, the Democrats are more highly evaluated than the Republicans. It's just that a large swath of the American electorate was sufficiently disenchanted with what Obama had done, the performance of the administration, that they threw the Democrats out, even though they didn't particularly like the Republicans any better. This is not an ideological election. This does not represent a turn to the right on the part of Americans any more than the last election meant a turn to the left. This is a large swath of middle people, independents, who swung about 30 points away from the Democrats between the 2006 and 2010 elections.
One observation that I've heard is that no matter the outcome of this election, the Tea Party succeeded in pushing both the Republican Party and the Democrats to the right. Do you agree?
I think what the Tea Party has done is to put economic issues and questions of debt and deficits on the front burner. Both parties have been trying to avoid these issues for years, even when all informed observers and experts have been saying we have to come to grips with the coming entitlement crisis and so forth. And now we're no longer talking about the culture issues that dominated so much debate in the 1990s and 2000s. We're talking about really serious issues that we have to come to grips with as a society.
I wonder what you make of what Christopher Hitchens has recently described as President Barack Obama's almost weird refusal to stick up for himself. Here's one of his really good observations. Faced with an extraordinary campaign of defamation on everything, from his citizenship to his religion to his paternity, Obama looked at times almost masochistic in his unreadiness to seize the initiative and give the lie to his detractors. It did seem that way to me too. What about you?
There has certainly been a lot of commentary to that effect, and I don't know. The White House is a bubble. It's possible that he simply wasn't getting the right information and wasn't really sensing what was the reaction of the population. He's been criticized, I have to say, as being much too professorial and simply being too much a creature of the mind and not enough a creature of the emotions.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to be unkind here, but I don't know if you get elected President of the United States. I mean, you know, being a professor isn't necessarily a qualification for that.
That's exactly right. He may not have had the right emotional or the right personality for this job.
Well, that's true, and let's get down to it, because I mean, this has been so much an election about him, a referendum on him. Are we getting now to the heart of how the personality of the president is really sometimes at the centre of their success or their failure? Does this man have the personality for the job when it seems like he doesn't want to get down and dirty, he doesn't want to defend himself in that street fighting way, and he doesn't want to sort of play perhaps the sometimes cheesy role that a US president has to play if they're going to keep the people on side?
Oh, gosh, you need to talk to a psychology professor, not a political science professor. I like to stay away from those questions. What has been noted is that if you take somebody like Bill Clinton, who just loved people and loved to push the flesh, Obama is much more comfortable in large groups where he can speak. He's not nearly as comfortable in small groups, engaging and arguing the way some other... So he may, in some sense, not have the classic personality traits of a politician. Still, I think we have a wide range of politicians who have held office in the United States. Now, maybe Richard Nixon's not such a great example, given what happened to him, but he was also a person not really comfortable in small groups and pressing the flesh and so forth. So I don't know how... I think the problems of the administration encountered and the results of the election really run much deeper than Obama's personality. I think if they had in fact delivered on holding unemployment to below 8%, things would have been a lot better. I think if they had not quite gone after so many issues at the same time and concentrated really on jobs and the economy, things would have been better. I think they made missteps, but I think they were less to do with Obama's personality than with the actual performance and the policies the administration followed.
Look, I think you're absolutely right. It is, however, always interesting, particularly from this distance, to see how presidents seem to be either such victims or beneficiaries of their personalities, and there's sort of no getting away from it. But now,
yes, but it's just hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine that his personality changed that much between the messianic figure he was during the campaign and the all too cool Mr. Spock kind of figure that he is today.
There's a bit of Mr. Spock going on, actually. Look, also from this distance, it does seem to me like the political discourse in the United States has changed, and perhaps for all time. A mistrust and a disdain of Washington like I've never seen before. Is this a permanent feature of American politics now, do you think?
I hope not, certainly. And we had already reached an earlier generation. During the latter days of the Carter administration, we were in a similar position. And people thought maybe our best days are over, maybe the electorate will never again trust government. And there was quite a resurgence during Ronald Reagan's administration, only to go down again. So I'm hopeful that we still have it in ourselves to make government work and to have citizens again trust government, a government that actually does work for them.
Maurice Fiorina, good to talk to you today. Thanks so much.
Good to talk to you.